Hello, and welcome to the Empowerography Podcast. This is a platform created for women's voices to be heard and a place to share their stories, journeys, and successes with the world for the purpose of helping other women who might be on similar journeys. We are empowering women one episode at a time. I'm your host, Brad Walsh, so kick back, grab one of your favorite beverages, and enjoy the stories. You've got a story to share, a message to inspire, and a passion ready to ignite. But where do you start? The world is waiting for your voice. With From Idea to Implementation, Start Your Own Podcast, you'll get the roadmap to turn your vision into reality. This isn't just a course, it's your launching pad. Step by step, we'll break down the process from defining your purpose to recording your first episode so you can finally share your voice with confidence. Stop overthinking it and start doing it. Your voice has the power to connect and lead. Are you ready to use it? Join the waitlist today. Your podcast journey starts now. The world is waiting. You can find the link to sign up for the waitlist in the show notes. We'll see you soon. Hello there, Brad Walsh here, your host of the Empowerography Podcast. Today, my guest is Jessica Lackey. She is a strategy and operations advisor who is on a mission to radically disrupt mainstream business culture in an effort to create sustainable business and with a human-centric approach. Welcome, Jessica. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
So happy and excited to have you here and to jump in to share all about the beautiful light you put out into the world through the work you do, a little bit about your story and your journey. So with that being said, let's get started. Why have you decided to make this your mission, and why is this mission so personally important to you?
So I spent 15 years climbing the corporate ladder. I'm sure we'll talk about it a whole lot more in this interview. I worked for big name companies, kind of had the golden handcuffs, right? Like I could have just stayed doing there forever, making money. And I was miserable. I realized that the currency I brought was my soul, and I was spending that making these big companies more money. I didn't want to do that anymore. But I learned that I'd accumulated so much knowledge and wisdom because I'd sacrificed my life a bit to learn all this information and climb the ladder. So I looked at small business and I said, you know what? There's an entire population of human beings that really make the ecosystem we work in thrive. And they don't have access to a lot of this information, or if they have it, it's behind really high-priced programs or books and books. So that's why it became my mission. How can I use what I've learned over my life to make other businesses more successful, the ones that really deepen our local ecosystems? And that's why I leapt out.
Beautiful. Can you share your journey into becoming a business strategist and operations advisor, and what inspired you to pursue the career path?
So this all starts when I didn't know what I wanted to do out of college, but I became an industrial engineer. I was like, I want to do science things, but I don't want to build cars. I didn't know what else you could do with being interested in math and science, but not wanting to work with a chemistry set and not wanting to build cars. So I became an industrial engineer. I then stumbled into consulting because it looked cool and I got in. So I worked at McKinsey Company for 3 years in their operations strategy practice. I then went to business school because that's what you did after you worked for a top 3 consulting firm. You went to business school. And at business school, I knew I wanted to go back into supply chain. I'd loved my time at McKinsey. And I got myself a job at Nike. They were hiring one MBA. And I said, that should be me. Got the job. When I got to Nike, I realized that strategy, particularly, I'm not great at marketing. I'm not great at sales. I'm but organizing things, creating focus and order out of chaos, understanding the root cause of things, that goes back to my operational background. And so I started doing that at Nike, helping to orchestrate the strategy plans for the entire $50 billion supply chain. And then I stayed in roles that cater to that kind of love of figuring things out in a supply chain lens throughout the entire career before I decided to, again, take those skills and do my own thing.
Okay. And so what drives, motivates, and inspires you to excel at all that you do, Jessica?
I am a learner. Have you ever heard of the Spark Type Assessment by Jonathan Fields?
No.
So I really love this. It's less about strengths and more about what lights you up. And I am Sage. That's a teacher, but my primary motivation is Maven. I love to learn. I've been a voracious reader ever since I was a kid. I love learning things and figuring things out and seeing how patterns show up together. It's actually one of the things that made me great at my job at Nike. I was in a global role. We had 5 different geographies. I had the Rolodex of everyone in my head. I would learn who a person was and go stalk them in Outlook and see who they reported to and see who reported to them. And I knew the names of 200 people and who were the power players and things like that in the entire organization. So when it came to doing my job, I was able to see all the pieces together, and that made me more effective there. And now I love to learn about that in small business and bring those learnings to my clients and my community.
I love it. So what was the name of that test again?
Oh, the Spark type assessment?
The Spark type assessment. Okay, I have to remember that. Very interesting. I've never heard of that before.
It's more, a lot of people like string finders and there's DISC, but I find that those are all almost like how you appear on the outside, but Spark type is like what fuels your life from the inside. And I've been a big fan of the creator for his work for years.
Okay. So how do you define business strategy, and what are the key components that you focus on when advising your clients?
So I think of strategy is what's my purpose, what's my plan, and how am I making progress? So these 3 things. A lot of in the online business space, it's get to 7 figures. A lot of businesses aren't constructed to do that. And a lot of owners, if they knew what it would take to get their businesses to that like random revenue level, they would hate it when they got there. And so strategy is first really declaring the purpose. How much impact do you want to have? What role do you want to play? What's the real direction where we're headed? Then the plan, which is with all the things I could do, what should I do? And that's actually harder to do than you think. And then progress. How are we tracking metrics, our actions, our activities to say, are we executing the plan? Is it having the results we want? Are we moving closer to that purpose, that vision we set for ourselves? And how are we doing that and reviewing that in a regular rhythm so that we always stay in tune with what's happening at the micro and what's happening in the macro? And those 3 components together make business strategy.
So what does operational excellence mean to you, and how do you help businesses achieve that?
So in my mind, operational excellence says, how can we move more smoothly to that purpose with those plans, making progress with less friction, more ease, more sustainability, more spaciousness? How can we look at the activities we're doing and saying, are these the right next steps? Are we putting in too much effort? Could we be, or actually, are we over-engineering some things? A lot of times, a lot of business owners put a lot of automation into things too early. They hire team members too early. And really, they're actually wasting time and energy and cash on things on the margins that are actually detracting them from like the things they need to be doing right now. So operational excellence is how do we move through the purpose, the plans, the progress with more ease.
Okay. And so in what ways do you encourage businesses to innovate and stay ahead of the curve in a constantly changing market?
I think it's really, the first thing is always like being in tune to yourself. They're innovating. Do you need to innovate? This whole mantra of if you're not keeping up, you're falling behind. I mean, that's just a narrative designed to keep you consuming and investing and striving and never being happy.
The hustle culture bullshit.
It's hustle culture. I hate it. But like when it's innovating, it's really important to say, looking at the market as a system and saying, is this going to impact me? Are the forces that are changing? There's this concept called the SWOT plan, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. I don't love it. It's kind of like threats, but really what is happening and what does that mean to changing your market, changing your messaging, changing your marketing strategy? So being really aware of what's going on in the market and then saying, what impact will this have on my business 3 months, 6 months, 12 months? Again, does that change my purpose? Does that change my plans? Does that change how I'm measuring progress?
So being in these corporations, doing the work you're doing, are you, going back to the hustle culture bullshit, are you seeing a shift where things are changing in the corporations in terms of moving out of that go hustle to more of a heart-centered or soul-led type of business, and that kind of vibe around the office and that kind of energy in the work that they're doing? Are you seeing a shift in that regard, in that term, in that way?
Some cases, I think there is a growing awareness that the pace of our work is destroying our ability to focus and to be able to have actual conversations with human beings. Like we're becoming more fractured society. There is the companies that that are mission centered, that are value centered, where the culture comes from the top, I have seen, and that are honestly in a reasonably strong cash position, they are able to embrace. Patagonia is a great example, but they're able to embrace the opting out of like the incessant hamster wheel. But if you've got a business model that relies on growth and relies on hustle, like your VC backed, you probably don't have that option, which is why I like
Right.
with, again, smaller, more quote unquote lifestyle type businesses, or ones that have a longer vision for a roadmap that don't have to show quarter over quarter progress. It is really hard to step off that hamster wheel when you have to report to investors or stockholders or shareholders on a quarterly
Right.
basis. It's hard to do that. So I like to go a little smaller where we can opt out of the capitalist structures a bit.
Right. Okay. Excellent. How do you advise businesses to adapt their operations in response to unexpected challenges or shifts in the market?
Again, this all goes back to knowing how your business fundamentally works and what's going to change in becoming your business bottleneck. So again, in a lot of the businesses I work with, a lot of times they are caught really flat-footed when it comes to marketing, ads changes or Google SEO changes or email marketing changes, because they've put all their eggs, for better or for worse, in one basket, and they don't actually have solid business fundamentals in the rest of their business. They don't have tools to see how their numbers are trending until like shit happens. And so it's really about how are you always looking at, I advise everyone to look at know how your business fundamentally works and know the leading edges of when you're noticing that start to be questionable, and put together plans in place, put together backup plans, build resiliency plans in. There's during COVID, we saw this a lot in the supply chain. People that had like factories were shut down. Entire factories were shut down. Entire supply chains were shut down because of like a screw that didn't get delivered on time. Yeah. And it's single sourced and it came from this particular place because it was the lowest cost item. And instead of having multiple sources that could do that or being able to spin that up quickly, factory, you just made whatever you could with whatever material you had on hand. And factories were shut down a lot. And I think, so again, like sometimes like engineering for the optimal cost or engineering for the most return on investment without thinking in the back of your mind, how am I making sure I'm resilient, particularly as a small business owner? Being overly thin, overly spread, wasteful. Being overly concentrated is also like potentially very fragile. And so that's why, how do we increase resilience by knowing how our business works and reducing dependence on key points of failure?
I mean, obviously, no one on the face of the planet expected that kind of a shutdown around the world, like a worldwide shutdown like that. So how the fuck do you even prepare for? You've got to plan ahead, but I mean, how in the fuck do you possibly forecast and put some kind of loose plan in place for something so huge and drastic?
That's a big example, but like one of the companies I work with had a factory shutdown because of a fire at the factory.
Right.
But that factory was the only factory. I think actually they changed pretty quickly. They had another factory that had some tooling that could be a second source. It wasn't great, but they had multiple suppliers for different things. They had drawings, they had expedited samples process. So they had processes in place to say, okay, if something happens, we have backup options. And they knew who was in charge. They had a team. They activated. They had a protocol for when shit hits the fan.
It wasn't such a massive disruption, but I mean, again, nobody could have possibly foresaw that kind of. I mean, car companies. You're still hearing about delays with car companies now, where shipping cars across to Canada from Japan and all these other places are taking like they're months and months behind.
Yeah, I mean. But I think that's where like the interconnectedness of the world, like I'm like, that's how, as a small business owner, if you're always operating on the edge, the operational efficiency would be like, if you're always operating on the edge and you have like less than 1 month of checking account, like all those, I work with a lot of companies, a lot of people that have speaking as like a primary income stream.
Right.
Well, in 2020, they lost their entire revenue stream.
Yeah.
So how do we, from an operational resilience perspective, how do we make sure we're profitable in advance of that? How are we taking like 2019, 2018, 2019, 2020 was like before everything shut down. It was like a boom time for
Yeah.
small businesses. And people that were like, oh, we're going to crush it. Like, I'm like, no, this is a good time. Save now.
Because we're in such a boom.
Because we're in such a boom. People that were like a lot of online course creators and things like that had the best record years of their lives in 2019, 2020, and 2021. And then they staffed up and they built big teams and they didn't really manage them well. And they blew through all their savings because that was like a bubble period, which if you'd been looking, you'd be like, there's no way this can last. It's kind of like right now with memberships and subscriptions. Everyone and their mom has a membership or subscription. Like, it's like the people teaching you how to grow on LinkedIn. The only people that are winning on teaching you how to grow on LinkedIn are the ones who got in early. So it's really about knowing the bubble and then really doubling down on your business fundamentals and saying, okay, it's boom time now. How am I not going to spend all this money? And how am I going to stock it away so that I am actually prepared for the downturn? I don't know when it's coming, but it's going to come.
Yeah. Yeah. You can probably expect it is coming at some point. So you're right. Sock some money away so that you are okay. Like you used the speaking as an example. How many speakers were out of work and had shit to support them?
Yeah. So that's part of operational efficiency for the business as well, is when you, again, know where you're headed and you've got plans in place, it's okay, let's make sure that our plans account for saving money, being able to pay our taxes, being able to put away things for retirement, having 3 to 6 months of operating expenses should something happen to you and your business. And if our businesses can't support doing that, then we have to go back to the foundations of our business and say, what is broken in the structures that we need to fix in order to make this a viable enterprise?
Beautiful. Thank you. So what qualities do you believe are essential for a successful advisor-client relationship?
I think it goes both ways. I think the advisor has to be non-attached to they're bringing their lens on the world, the client's bringing their lens on the world. So I think that's one thing. But I also think that it's again, a two-way relationship. I've seen that the most successful clients I've had didn't think paying me was the solution to their problems. They thought that doing the work was the solution to their problems. No, like people are like, I'm gonna lose weight or I'm gonna achieve this thing. And so they buy a course, they think, and in their minds, a dopamine, oh, I bought the course, so it's gonna happen. My most successful clients have a really long-term view on the world. And me, as the advisor, is my responsibility, my duty to hold the vision for them when they can't see it for themselves.
Right.
But also recognizing that anyone who's telling you it's 6 months to build a business is lying to you. And it takes years. And now I get that not everyone has like the runway for that. Not everyone has the stomach for that. And so one, how do we fund our lives? How am I helping them put together the systems and rhythms that will over the long term yield the fruit?
I think that's a common misconception about entrepreneurship, is that a lot of people jump in thinking, 6 months, I'll build my business, I'll be making 6 figures and and all of these things. But I think part of the sole responsibility is on the owner, of course, to do your research and figure things out. But with social media telling you that, oh, you've got all these coaches online who say, I can get you earning 6 figures in 6 months or in a year. It's bullshit. It takes years to build a business, but people just jump in thinking, this is amazing. I'm going to start my own business. I'm going to be making tons of money. I can work whenever I want. If I don't feel like working, I don't have to. That's complete bullshit. You're working more hours than you would if you're working at a 40-hour job for a corporation. People don't they just see it's romanticized. That's the word I'm looking for. Entrepreneurship is romanticized.
And there's a whole host of people making a whole ton of money, capitalizing on the beginning of the Dunning-Kruger effect, right? Where you think it's going to be, you don't know how hard it is until you're like past the beginning point. And you're like, oh, here's the dip.
Oh, shit.
Here we go. Oh, shit. I work with people who have passed that point. Or oh, okay. I don't work with like people who are like, oh, I'm going to start a community with like my 100 people on my list. I'm like, come to me in a year. That didn't happen. And then we'll talk.
I think there needs to be a lot more conversation around this topic because, I mean, as you alluded to, entrepreneurship is not for everybody. It takes a certain type of person. You have to have, as you said, the stomach for it. You have to be able to play and have the vision for the long game. And a lot of people don't. They're very short-sighted. They think, oh, this is going to be a quick and easy way to make money really quick and blah, 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 blah. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah. I think that's one of the So when I was back in my strategy days, I think that's one of the reasons I love what I do so much is because I was having to like look at Nike. We had 6 seasons we were managing of a clothes or clothes and shoes at a given time. You had the season you were
Mm.
liquidating, the season you were selling at, like in stores, the season that was delivering, and then 3 seasons from a design and sourcing and apparel perspective. And so you're having to think about, okay, what is happening today and how is that impacting 2 years worth of plans for the business? So if it's something, if we see a shoe starting to tail off in the market now,
Mhm.
then that impacts what is going to happen over the next 2 to 3 years. And it was my job to see that, understand the trends, move that up the chain and be like, all right, what are the changes we're going to make now to adapt to that? And so being able to see that long-term vision, but also then focus on, okay, I know my 3-year plan. And for my clients, I'm like, I know your 3-year plan.
Right.
And also, I'm going to help exactly what the next step is today. And I think that's
Hmm.
it's a skill that I honed over time. I don't think that's something that we're all taught or have
Yeah.
the skill set to do. And I feel
Hmm.
like that's my job to help my clients sift through, create their vision, create the step by step plan and be like, it's there, hold it, focus on this today.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. What trends do you see emerging in business strategies and operations, and how should businesses prepare for them?
I think there's 2 things that I'm seeing. One is with AI making everything more commoditized. The word is like aggressively human and aggressively personal. Like it's not enough to just pump out content. It's not enough to be competing on commodity because you're never going to win there.
Right.
And so if you can't compete on price, if you can't compete as a commodity, you have to compete as a real brand, as a real personal voice, as a real business voice. You have to have a moat. So that's one. And then I think the other trend is, again, there's so many new things that the people that win are the people that do few things better relentlessly over time. And
Okay.
I think actually participating in social media is destroying our ability to like really connect with people. And so I'm seeing that the business owners that are doing really well are taking more time. They're not caught up in the noise. They're taking more time to have a really strong point of view, a really strong message, a really strong voice, and doing the foundational things exquisitely well.
Yeah. I love that you brought up the fact of that personal connection, because with all that happened in the world over the past few years, on one hand, it gave us an outlet to come together worldwide, around the world. But on the other hand, it's created a divisiveness among us because we are so caught up in the technology now that we've lost that human connection. I mean, you and we're connected here because of technology, but it's taken away a connection element, the human element, not us specifically, but this technology and how much it's advanced, how quickly it's advanced. Now with AI, are you seeing fear among within corporations because of AI, for loss of jobs, for all the different things?
I'm seeing like, okay, what is this actually going to do? And we don't really know yet. But that's why I
Hmm.
think that's like that, like kind of like aggressively human part is like when when there's just more noise, like when there's just more noise out there, like AI, it will take some jobs about doing repeatable things over time. But
Right.
that was always that's been a risk for since outsourcing became a thing. But AI doesn't create new things. AI doesn't create and when you think about I mostly work in small businesses, AI can't replace your lived moments. But
Hmm.
also you think like societal wide, like if we haven't solved some of these like climate change questions yet, if we haven't solved the housing crisis, if we haven't like prepared for like climate migration and things like that, like AI can't solve that for you because we haven't solved it yet.
Right.
And so AI is right now is only able to take our words and create something from something. But
Hmm.
the biggest fights of our, existence are on a macro scale are challenges we haven't tackled yet.
Hmm.
So I think there's it's got a ways to go before I think people lose jobs. But then also when you no longer can trust someone on like the Zoom to be like actually a Zoom, I think there's gonna like I don't know if we as a society know how to cope with that. So are we gonna say, oh, now I'm gonna like listen to this person, will we opt out of things like social media because we can't trust it anymore? It really will be fake news regardless of your politics. But okay,
Yeah.
so we're going to go back to like reputable sources that we know and trust versus people that we don't know. Does AI potentially make our lives go back to being a little more local and insular versus worldwide when we really don't know what we're seeing and who it's from?
But nothing, absolutely nothing replaces the human connection and community.
Yeah.
We need connection with other humans, that we are human beings that rely on connection, period. And nothing replaces it, especially in business.
Yeah.
You have to have that connection with people.
Yeah. I mean, it'll certainly make bookkeeping easier and make like filing customs paperwork and auditing that for things. Like that'll make those tasks a lot easier. But will it make like brokering a deal with a business partner? I mean, I can't, maybe in Gen A, that world, but I don't for mine.
Yeah. What inspires and lights you up the most about the work you do?
I think it's seeing light bulbs go off with my clients when it actually starts to work and they're like, oh, I have this, I got this. There's so many people like telling you don't have it in order to sell you something. And so for my clients who were like, no, I do have it. I know what I'm supposed to be doing. I got this. That is the most inspiring thing, because there's some business coaches who would want to keep taking your money forever. And mine is, I'd like you to know enough about how your business works that you don't need me anymore.
Yeah, they're not reliant upon you. Yeah. And so on the flip side of that coin, what are a couple of the biggest challenges that you face in the work you do?
I think I'm actually seeing this right now. I'm always learning. I love learning, but I'm now, in 3 years in, I was learning what my clients were learning, but now what I'm learning and what my clients are facing are somewhat different. And so like the question is like, for every entrepreneur is like, how don't you get bored? How do you stay hungry for me for learning? And my learning edge might stop being about business and it might start being about my other hobbies like vegan cooking and tarot and other things that are not my business, which hasn't been the case for 5 years. Like for 5 years, I've been like, all right, how do I build this business to something that can get me free from my corporate hellscape? But now it's okay. It's working. And I got into entrepreneurship to not be trapped in my work. And so now I'm like, okay, cool. Now I have to like fulfill that promise to not be trapped in my work. And it's really easy to, once you've been started entrepreneurship, is make that the center of your life. And so there's always more I could do in my business. There's always more. And so like the temptation to not do more, because I've been taught how to do more my entire professional career. And so that's actually the biggest challenge right now.
That's a slippery slope.
Yeah.
And especially too, I think when you absolutely love what you do, it's so hard to not get caught up in, I just got a couple more things. And then the next thing, hours have passed by. It's like, holy shit, where did the fucking time go?
Yeah.
Like you don't even realize how much time you spent working because you're loving what you're doing. So time goes like that.
The best business, this is like weird to say, but the best business advice is to get a dog, because my dog needs to be taken out in the morning at a specific time. My dog is maybe the most schedule-oriented creature I've ever met. And at 6:30, if I haven't gotten his leash to take him out, he's let's go. 6:30 at night. He's let's go, mom. It's time for a walk. And so some people have an elaborate shutdown ritual. Mine is like when my dog paws at me for enough minutes, and then I'm like, I close my tabs and then we go.
Got to feed the dog, take the dog out, all the things, right?
I know he keeps me grounded in a routine that makes sense for both of us.
And they're amazing to cuddle with.
Exactly. Yeah.
And having your dog at work with you is fucking incredible.
Yeah. My dog is lying on the sofa behind me right now.
I love that. Yeah,
we go out. He makes me go out for midday walks. And when it's really hot, he doesn't want to go outside. So we just sit on the grass.
Yeah.
During the middle of the workday.
I want to dive into and discuss a little bit about leadership in business. Now, obviously, in the work you do, you are dealing closely with high-level execs, C-suite level. What role does leadership play in effective business strategy and operations, and how do you help business leaders develop those skills?
So there's And I learned this from one of my clients. There's 3 types of leaderships. There's intrapersonal leadership. So who are you? Interpersonal leadership. How do you work with others? And then organizational leadership. How are you stewarding an organization? My colleague, Susan, she's fantastic. And in that, I think, again, like there's like a lot of leadership stories for people interpersonally. Do they want to be a leader? What's their own relationship with leadership? I kind of help see how it's playing out in the symptoms. And then we help step back and say, okay, what are your stories about leadership? What are your stories about identity? And then there are the leadership, the interpersonal and organizational rhythms. A lot of times a lot of leaders will say, I'm really clear. I'm like, your team has no idea what's in your head. Your clarity is like a sentence email that no one knows what you're talking about. So how do I help leaders put the rhythms and rituals in place again for that strategy to be transparent, clear with expectations, aware of priorities? Because you can be an incredible people leader. And if you're trying to put 15 pounds of priorities into a 10-pound bag, your personal ability to be an effective leader is you're just stifled because your organization is trying to do too much. It's not going to be effective. So no matter your personal skills at leadership, your organization doesn't thrive. And so I help them on both aspects. What are the stories you tell yourself? What's your leadership identity? And also, are you frankly trying to do too much with unclear expectations and unclear measurement? Mm-hmm. How do we clarify that up so that your team is marching to the same drum?
And so what process in your mind best supports leadership development?
I think it's leadership skill building. I think that's one. Every leader should have a therapist. I really believe that. Someone who doesn't report to you, who you don't manage, who's not paying you, that's going to help you unwind your own stories related to authority, delegation, control. I mean, I'm like everyone should have at minimum a coach, but certainly I think we should all benefit from having someone professionally trained to talk to. And then really, like, I think being able to like have the fortitude to set up and maintain these leadership rhythms, even when it seems like it's slowing things down on purpose. Because slowing things like measure twice, cut once type of mentality, slow to go fast. And I think those are the skills that people need to develop.
And so what, in your opinion, then, is the most important quality or skill set in a leader?
I think it's the ability to be present with and sit with your own emotions and understand how that's driving you as a leader, as an organizational team member.
Emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
So see, we are seeing a shift in the way things are done in the boardroom, in corporations, because that was never, emotional intelligence was never a fucking thing. If you go back to the 80s, 90s, you didn't talk about that shit at work. It
probably was the most important thing, just no one was talking about it. Like I'm still like, now at this point, what's so fascinating is that you're starting to see this retreat from diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives, because I think there's this reluctance to sit with our own stories about diversity, our own stories about culture, our own biases as a person. And people are like, man, this is hard. We're just going to not. And it's not popular. So we're just going to go back to doing it the way we did it before because it's harder. And so I think, again, I wish it wasn't going back that direction. That's a lot of the things we're seeing in the world. So I think it was always the most important quality of leadership. Just no one said it then.
Yeah.
Now people are saying it.
It's being talked about and all of the things, but you never heard the word people talking about emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so how do you continue to evolve and grow as a leader in your industry and the work you do? And what are your future aspirations?
So I do my best to walk the talk. I'm writing a book, but I have a writing practice because I like to think of myself, I'm a consistent learner. And so how am I learning and how am I distilling and how am I writing that out? So that's like how I'm developing my leadership capacity. I have a coach because all coaches need coaches. But my big aspirations is I want to help more business owners go put the rhythms in place, kind of, again, that purpose, those plans, that process to really embed that rhythm for small business operations. Cause I think that's what's missing. And how can I reach more people?
Now, when you say that you work with small businesses, what is a small business in your mind? What's the yearly income, or is that how you judge it? How do you decide?
I mean, I think Personally, I like to work with micro businesses the best, which is like less
Okay.
than 10 employees. I think
Okay.
small business is somewhere between, technically one is a small business, but really that's a micro business. But really it's like
Hmm.
small businesses, like 10 to 50, 10 to 50 people. I find the most joy in working with micro businesses, but I love to
Okay.
also support small businesses, especially when the leaders, I need help. Those are my favorites.
Mm.
Sometimes the leaders, I need help, but I don't want to get help. Then that's less fun.
Okay. Just curious. Now, looking back on your own professional journey, what is one piece of advice that you wish you had received earlier on in your career?
I would have said what I'd received earlier on is that they will take everything you give them. So develop sources of joy and identity and outside of your primary career. They will, it's designed to, and it's going to look appealing. They're going to take
Mhm.
everything they can. So
The
recognize
the
that's
life out of you.
the suck the life out of you. So recognize that's like the price you pay for some of the great experiences you might get.
Right. What is one tip or takeaway that you can share with listeners that they can implement immediately to start embracing their inner leader and reconditioning their mind for the success they want?
Have some sort of creative practice, be it more of a contemplative practice like meditation or yoga, or especially if you're a business owner, some kind of writing or long form speaking, not like keynotes, but like doing a podcast or something like that. It's for you to be a stronger thinker, be a more astute observer, and be able to be a better communicator in the age of generic AI nonsense.
Thank you for that. What has been one of your biggest lessons that you've learned through your clients and in the work that you do that has helped you become a better strategist, better advisor, and a better leader?
The most important part is sitting with what you really want. There's a lot of people telling you what you could do, and but it all comes down to what is the role that the business plays in your life, and what do you really want it to be, and that has to come
Yeah,
first.
that takes inner strength to sit with yourself and do that because
Mhm.
we get hit with so much shit coming at us, social media, video, audio, everything. It's overwhelmed.
Exactly.
And you're right. Everyone is trying to tell you this is what you should do. So to be able to sit with yourself, I mean, let's first of all talk about the fact that a lot of people don't like to sit with themselves.
I don't know if I like to do it all that much either, but yeah.
So it's very hard to do that and get into that headspace, but it's necessary for your sanity and for your business. What do you think your unique skill set or superpower is that's helped you become successful?
It's this ability to consume a lot of information and see and distill patterns. It's like connecting all the dots and saying, oh, this looks like this. And then it's seeing gaps in my own knowledge and then not being afraid to go chase them.
Ask for help.
Ask for help. Yeah.
I think that is another huge piece of being a good leader is being able to ask for help, lean on your team. That's what they're there for. And admit that you don't have all the fucking answers.
Yeah.
How do you define success? What does that word mean to you?
Success for me means understanding what enough is and embracing it.
What would you say is one of the most important things you've learned in your life? And what was your life like before you learned it? What was your life like after learning it?
Yeah. One of the most important things I learned was that alcohol does not make things better. And before then, you can paper over a whole lot of happiness in your life. And after that, you need to, again, like a lot of this comes back to being willing to sit with ourselves and face our stories and our inner demons and
Yeah.
working with how that plays out in like the conscious actions of our lives.
Mm-hmm. What is one of your biggest failures or teachable moments? And what did you learn from it?
So one of my biggest failures was I waited too long to have some really hard conversations with an employee about performance. And then I wasn't as honest with her. I reorged my team. I thought I was doing everything right. I kept her at the same salary. I reduced her role responsibilities so she could actually thrive in the new role. But I wasn't as honest and transparent with her as I should have been. And she eventually forgave me, but it was a tenuous working relationship for about a year after that.
What is one thing now that you wish you knew when you started your entrepreneurial journey?
That relationships are key and that the 1,000-day rule is real.
The 1,000-day rule?
Yeah, you'll really won't start to see things actually build momentum wise until about 1,000 days. Like it won't be, these are the things that they don't tell you. Let's say you're a coach working with somebody. Okay, it's going to take you 3 months to get to know people. 1 to 2 months to land your first client, 6 months of working together with that client, 2 or 3 months before they tell anybody about the work that you've done, and like you get another client. Like when you get from when you start to when you like get your maybe your first referral, it's like a year probably.
Yeah.
And then to get 10, 12 of those coming in every year, it takes 2 to 3 years. And that's where it's like the 1,000-day rule. One, how can you fund your life for the first 3 years of really building your business? Because like dabbling doesn't cut it. Like actually have a plan. But then 2, don't give up for the first 3 years.
And again, this speaks to playing the long game, having the long vision for entrepreneurship. It's not easy. It is, again, it's not for everybody. It is a long, tough road. I put it up there, right up there beside raising children. It is fucking hard.
Yeah.
You're going to be tested in so many ways that you never even thought of, you never even knew possible. It's a long, tough road, but it's so worth it. It really is.
It's so worth it. But yeah, and not like getting past the fun and exciting part and then getting into the monotony of success. Like that's, people don't talk about that very much because a lot of people don't get there. They continue hopping to something new and building something new versus trying a new tactic versus I'm going to do the thing that's boring and quote unquote doesn't scale over a long period of time. But guess what? That actually means you'll be quicker to scale than trying to cheat your way out of it.
Okay, we're going to jump into a little rapid fire section. So the next grouping of questions just be 1, 2, 3 word answer type thing. Okay.
Yep.
How would you describe yourself in one word?
Curious.
If you could teach the world one thing, what would it be?
Systems thinking.
If you could be remembered for one thing, what would that be?
Heart-centered support.
What is one thing you want but cannot buy with money?
The ability to run a marathon.
What is one thing you love about yourself that is not related to your physical appearance?
I love my capacity to care for others.
What is your favorite self-care practice?
It's going for a long walk with my dog.
Beautiful. That concludes our rapid fire section. Now back to our regularly scheduled program. I threw in a bonus question that I did not send you ahead of time. If you could take one feeling or one belief and bottle it up and give it to people, what would it be?
It would be hope. Actually, there's 2. It would be hope, but it would also be calm in the face of emailing people that want to hear from you.
If you could step into my shoes, what question would you have asked yourself that I didn't ask you?
I wouldn't have asked any questions. You asked a lot of good questions.
Thank you. What is your why, Jessica?
My why is I don't believe that you should have to pay a ton of money or sacrifice your life in order to know how to build a sustainable, strong business.
So in other words, fair pricing for your clients.
Fair pricing for your clients, but also like it costs more than money to have to figure this stuff out. So
time being the biggest factor. Time is the biggest factor for sure. Yeah. But again, it goes back to, I think, what all these people you see online charging exorbitant amounts of money to work with them. It's like, what the fuck are you thinking? Like, how is that sustainable?
It's a strip mining approach to business. I'm going to pull all value out of this particular audience and I'm going to move to the next. Yeah. And I like to think of my business world as like a regenerate ecosystem. How can I make the lives of my clients better so they can make the lives of their clients better so we can all work together to raise the tides for small businesses? There
you go. I love that. If you had the opportunity to sit down and have a 1-hour conversation with one woman, any woman in the world, who would it be and why?
I want to talk to Arlen Hamilton from Backstage Capital about how we can collectively break down the barriers to getting women in minority-owned organizations more venture funding.
If you could go back and give your younger self one piece of advice, what would that piece of advice be?
Nothing really good happens after 2 a.m.
I've never heard that one before. That's a good one.
And if you're in your 30s, nothing good happens after midnight. And if you're in your 40s, then 10 o'clock is the cutoff point, really.
All right. Lastly, Jessica, if you were to deliver your last 30-second speech to the world, your tribe, your people, your corner of the world, what would that last 30 seconds sound like? What words of wisdom would you impart?
It would be, what do you want? Really, what do you want? I think we spend our lives chasing and striving and being on this hamster wheel for more. But what do you really want out of your life? And how can we be comfortable with that?
Beautiful. Jessica, thank you so much for this beautiful, insightful, educational, and fun interview. I appreciate you. I am so grateful to have had the opportunity and the time to sit down with you and speak with you and learn about the beautiful light you put out into the world through the work you do, and to now have you as a member of the Empowerography community. I'm so grateful for you. Thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you.
Once again, my name is Brad Walsh, host of your Empowerography podcast. Today, my guest has been Jessica Lackey. She is a strategy and operations advisor who is on a mission to radically disrupt mainstream business culture and in an effort to create sustainable businesses with a human-centric approach. Thanks so much, Jessica. Have a beautiful rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for listening to this podcast. If you haven't yet, please be sure to subscribe, rate, review, and share with all your friends. You can find me at visuphoria.ca, follow me on Instagram at Empowerography Podcast, and on Facebook at Empowerography. Please join me next time for another inspirational story from yet another amazing woman.